In the upper right, he's playing for Team Liquid. Fear Dragon says he's going to get 2-0'd here. It's SKillous.
And over here in the top left-hand side, we have the red Protoss player. He is Strange. I'm saying Team Mystery Gaming, which to me, Mystery Gaming, picking up a player named Strange, that was just perfect. That was just great marketing.
Oh, it works out well. And it's funny, by the way, talking about Mystery Gaming. So I've been asking, apparently just been coming up, asking people like, there was that meme right about, man, how often do you think about the Roman Empire? And it turns out Loco's Roman Empire, the thing he just occupies too much of his brain, is, well, ancient Egypt, not ancient Rome. And, well, Mystery Gaming, they got the Eye of Horus right there. So this is just a shout out to Loco, I guess. Why haven't they signed Loco yet? If he is that, it fits right in with the branding, right?
I guess it's like, I never would have known that about Loco if he didn't say it. So I think that's the funny part of that to me. I will also say, as we have the proxy pylon being thrown down in the bottom left, but it's just the hidden pylon, not the actual proxy pylon. I just want to say, I'm a little bit sad that we don't see the proxy Dark Shrine that often anymore. I feel like they used to be a little bit more common in PvP, and there'd be the corner Dark Shrines where you'd see the pile in the bottom left, and you'd be like, I think that's going to turn into a proxy Dark Shrine. It's like, no. Now if I just see a pile that far out, I'm like, okay, he's not proxying anything.
Yeah, I think it is in part that the build orders, certainly since Legacy of the Void, have gotten a little bit more safe. You can open Twilight and still probably have a robo by the time that the Dark Shrine is done. So I'm going to proxy Dark Shrine and you're not going to see it, and there's not going to be a robo in time, and you're just dead. Because that was what happened quite a bit just earlier on. That's just less likely. So, there's that. By the way, I want to point this out. I've been talking about it or pretty much every day I've been on broadcast, but we're seeing double sentry openings here. Like, the fact that we knew it was going to change PvP. We knew it was probably going to stabilize PvP, but the bonus damage to shields, the fact that we're seeing it just so consistently now and it's having such a positive impact in how the matchup goes, I think it's pretty cool. Now, where the matchup goes in a month, in a week, who knows? But I mean, these adepts, they should not complete their shades. Not into 2 adepts and 2 sentries. They're just dead. And again, it's pretty cool to see the sentries as an actually impactful fighting unit.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been a fun change to see, to kind of shake up. It shook up the PvP meta a lot for sure. And we're going to see a couple extra sentries being made. But I think the real power, just being able to continuously get that scouting information because of those sentry openings. Ooh, finishing up that shade is an interesting decision there. And wow, the projectile in the air, we see the double kill. It's just 1 adept left to witness the battle that just ensued.
Mutually assured destruction, right? They both go in like, last shot, we're gonna... I don't know why do adepts explode? That's actually a really important question.
It's not all adepts explode. It's specifically the purifier ones. So Skillous has the purifier skin on, and the purifier ones are basically like robots, right? They're like, all of the units are AI versions of Protoss units.
Nice. A little bit of an awkward force field, but it looks like it's gonna work out. Both adepts should. There we go. Nice target fire. Nice splits. So 2 adepts go down for the price of 1. Nice job there, Skillous. But where on the 99% useless fact Sphere Dragon, where does purifier skins explode but other Protoss skins don't? Where's that slot in there?
Well, I'll tell you, actually, I can check. Well, I won't bother checking right now because we're in the middle of casting game, but I have somewhere between 50 to 100 useless facts I just never made videos about.
And this was number 69 out of those. Got it. Really important.
Clearly, yes. Exactly. Somewhere between 50 and 100, but it was number 69.
It was actually really funny. Yesterday,
I may have had 53 facts, but then I labeled that one as 69. You're right.
It was actually really funny yesterday. So on April 20th, with all that entails, we had 2 players both get supply blocked at 69 supply. And I'm just like, I'm not going to comment on it, but it is pretty fun. What is also fun is this Warp Prism showing its way into the natural 2 adepts here. We saw how powerful that was. Force Field's actually do a decent job of zoning, but with only 1 adept here, it's not going to get a ton, right? So we see the explosion, but 3 workers go down. Meanwhile, I mean, Immortal drops on the other side. Far more powerful here, you would think. Doesn't really get a lot.
Yeah, just the little like heads up display thing on the mini map was just the Phoenix, hallucinating Phoenix, I should say, harassing that Warp Prism and not actually finding an opportunity to unload. As there's 2 Immortals and a couple of sentries over here for SKillous, they're easily able to just kind of push things back. That Prism already getting quite low on hit points for the shields, so it doesn't want to stick around or try to make too much happen right there. It's just gonna end up backing off, and I don't hate that too much as a decision for Strange, but it does suck considering that the Prism on his side of the map has already been able to find a couple of workers and is still alive, being annoying.
You know what's pretty cool, actually? We talk about these sentry changes. It is something. So your units are under attack. It's not taking any damage, but you'll be distracted for the next minute while the hallucinations are here. What's actually kind of cool, as we talk about, certainly these early game Immortal drops, the sentry change actually makes them really good against Immortals, right? With hardened shields, with all the shield right there, you generally, when you're doing an Immortal drop, you let them land up until the point where they're no longer have shields, and you pick them back up again. And having this mass sentry play actually does a significant job of decreasing the amount of time that you're able to do that, which is not something I really thought about when that change happened, but it is kind of cool.
Okay, so this is very important. The hallucinating Phoenix comes in and sees not a whole lot exactly. Like, the thing is, SKillous has been taking, he's had this third for a while. He's going on this kind of big Blink Stalker Immortal army with a couple of sentries, or like a lot of sentries in the mix that he's hallucinating Phoenix with, because Strange is not expanding at all. He's going for a big charge lot Immortal Archon all in. This is very much so an all in for Strange. He has +1 weapons finished up as well, but it is really just, can he make all the damage happen with this attack? And now the hallucinating Phoenix is going to see these Archons. He sees the Warp Prism positioning, so he's going to have a very, very clear idea of what's going on. The Prism for SKillous went back in, and the Adept actually unloaded it and was able to get some good damage off. That's actually really, really sick and really annoying for Strange to have to deal with at this stage.
Yeah, I don't think this works. First of all, there are a lot of sentries, and I know we're talking about it because it's the new thing and it's kind of cool. That's a bunch of units that have a lot of shields and not a lot of holes. Specifically the Archons. You target you target the sentries on the Archons, and they kind of pop. So this attacking 2 bases to 3. SKillous has 1 more gateway than Strange does. SKillous has the high ground. He's got 4 shield batteries. There was no world where that was really gonna work. SKillous has done such a good job of, not only are their sentries really nice because hey, they strip shields away very quickly, and for Archons and for Immortals that actually matters quite a bit. But also, he's had hallucinations all over his opponent's base for the last 5 minutes or so. Strange has not pulled any wool over SKillous's eyes. Strange has not been able to hide anything whatsoever. Now, one advantage, +2's halfway done. Maybe you can hit a timing off that one, but otherwise, SKillous, because he has so many sentries, he just has, it's almost map hacks. He has perfect vision about everything that Strange is doing, and that makes these 2 base all-ins that we saw Strange kind of committing to just not likely to work.
Yeah, it's going to make things very, very tough for him that he wasn't able to make that work, because now, yes, he has a 3rd base finished up, but SKillous is already kind of going up to his 4th base. He's been able to round out his technology just by getting up the robotics bay and a 2nd robo now finishing up. He's going to have disruptors coming on out. He's really going to have all the tools in his tool belt he needs, as well as actually +2 weapons. If he can get that out in a relatively shorter period of time, he's not going to have it in time for this push, but that will also be very, very helpful. But the first 2 disruptors are not actually on the field at the fight, so the shield battery is going to be very important to help keep these units alive against these zealots.
I mean, this Sim City, though, is beautiful. There is so much of just a tight ball that SKillous can just hide around and make sure nothing happens. Disruptor's actually not. Disruptor does more damage to SKillous than it does to Strange at this point. But again, this is an all-in. Yes, there's this +2 timing. It's really strong, certainly, but more disruptors are here. He keeps hitting his own buildings with the Nova. It's unfortunate.
You know what? it's obviously not great that he's like just hitting his piles and stuff, but he's zoning out the army. If that army had just charged straight up the ramp, had dove in on top of the disruptor or something, I actually think that SKillous would maybe have been in a little bit of trouble there. But now, as it kind of stands, this is still looking really tough. He is killing all the shield batteries. These force shields have been absolutely brutal. SKillous is bleeding out a lot of units on that south side now, and these charge lots may complicate things a little bit, but I think as soon as SKillous gets another reinforcing warp in, he'll be in a better spot in theory, but Man, he just lost all of his immortals over there. The disruptors, they really have to get some big damage done now.
I mean, they got a lot of damage to the immortals, but we're still looking at 5 immortals here. And I don't think yet no charges done, so the zealots are likely going to be the answer defensively, and we're going to start to see these disruptors killing the immortals if he hits the shots. But the fact that this has gotten as much damage as it's done, despite how really locked down the defense was with Skillous, he did some pretty cool things. And this may still work. The reinforcing zealots are still there. I mean, the disruptors are going to start to knock these immortals down pretty strong. But the fact that this is a question right now, and the fact that it makes, I mean, these immortals are doing so much here. Does this work?
Coco's second overcharge finally coming on in and going to keep these disruptors and these zealots alive for a little bit longer. But the battery gets taken out. Finally, another one of these disruptors is able to soften up an immortal, but it's going to take an extra disruptor to kill off that immortal. Oh my god, Strange is actually up in supply now. This attack just carried on for so long that Skillous eventually ended up crumbling. He lost so much of his army because it was split up between his main, his natural, and his third. And Strange actually ends up winning that game that it looked like Skillous had in the bag.
It's funny, you know, Fear Dragon, you were saying, it's kind of okay that he's really only doing more damage to his pylons than his opponent with the first disruptor shots. I actually don't think that's true. I think those first shots, I think that was really the difference. You land shots, you kill that immortal. That would have been really nice. You kill off a couple zealots. That hold was on such a razor's edge that if you just land those 2 shots, I think that might have been the difference. Of course, Strange snowballed at the end of it, but I was looking at that. I'm like, until the very last second, I'm like, yeah, I think Skillous probably has this.
Yeah, I mean, really, really well done there by Strange. I think you're definitely right. Those disruptors did need to find some more damage there. I really think that just the fact that the immortals there for Strange and these Archons were attacking into that third base, he managed to force field out so much of Skillous' army from all of those shield batteries he had invested into. And then there was like this point in time where there were like 4 or 5 extra stalkers and maybe like 2 or 3 of those disruptors that are just sitting in the natural as basically Strange just plowed through the rest of Skillous' army at the third base. The reinforcements took way too long to get over from the natural over to the third base. So it really was just Skillous fighting with half of his army for a lot of that, like the very end of that fight. And that I feel like was what really, really was a big turning point for me.
Yeah, you know, I'll certainly buy that one. It was kind of cool. Also, an immortal lived on like 5 HP, killed the last stalker, and then got his hardened shield back and was able to get more damage done there. It's a hard... Obviously, it's a technical defense, but I think you give Skillous that setup 9 games out of 10, 95 games out of 100. I think he wins. Strange just did the Bly thing where he's like, I'm going to hit you with something weird, and I'm going to make you overthink it. And you're going to make some mistakes maybe because this is a high-stress game. You got to win this series to move on to the playoffs, and that matters a lot. And I'm going to put the stress on you. You're the favorite here. You're the one that is fighting against expectations. I have none. I mean, I'd love to make playoffs. I may have some expectations for myself, but I don't know how many people went into this game. Let's see, what is it? It's 829,000 channel points to 329 thinking Skillous will win. So actually probably more points than I expected. But at the end of the day, Skillous fighting against the weight of expectations and not quite able to do so in game number 1. And this means that Strange, you know, you were saying it was going to be a 2. Well, actually, you said it was going to be a 2-0, but hey, it's looking good. Anyways, talking about how things are going to work out in the bottom right, in the blue, down a game in this series, it's Skillous.
And over here at the top left-hand side of the map, we have the red Protoss player. It is Strange from Mystery Gaming.
Hey man, if you're oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just thinking, like, I feel like Skillous was still in a decent spot in that last game before, like obviously before the attack and everything. I feel like deflecting the first wave of that kind of aggression where he forced Strange to kind of retreat back. Strange had to grab a third base and everything. I still feel like Skillous had a decent start for that game. So I am very curious how the beginning phase of game number 2 is going to end up going here for Strange.
Yeah, I think up until the point where Skillous missed about 4 disruptor shots and suddenly there are 5 immortals left and he can't warp in enough to defend. up until that point, he was miles ahead. He was in such a good spot. He had the high ground. He was up a base. He was up 2 bases. Briefly, he had this great SimCity to wedge his army behind where he put some gateways down. He had all these sentries that I was watching, like they shredded the Archons. They popped a lot of them pretty quickly. He's got this immortal count. Disruptors are on the way. There's like 7 shield batteries and cannons outside of the 3rd base. All of that together, SKillous was in an incredible position. And Strange, well, it's a mystery, but he pulled it back.
Appropriate team for him to be on.
Exactly.
Yes, in that sense.
That's the joke.
Nah, you're definitely spot on with that. We are going to see both these players locking in some proxy pylons. One's to block a nexus, one's to lock in the probe so that the adepts can get the kill. They will. Oh my god, are these adepts the shade? No, Strange. Oh my god, I think he actually could have gotten that probe further away and either forced a cancel on the shade, which I don't think would happen, or the probe would just survive for a little bit longer. It's like so unfortunate. He did such a sick job microing that probe around.
Yeah, and for now, I mean, there's a pylon block in the natural, so I love it as well. Skill's like, look, okay, fine, you got me in game number 1. Let's make life a little bit more complicated for you, shall we? We're gonna drop a cyber core. You're gonna have to go spend adepts. Not gonna get in. It looked like I like this idea again. SKillous has him distracted with the pylon, the cyber core. He's like, okay, I'm gonna dive in the natural. I'm gonna dive in the main base. You're not gonna be expecting it. Well, Strange was on top of things, so for now, the adepts continue to try to shave in.
Oh, you want to hear something really annoying? Those adepts could shade in on top of the nexus. Like, don't actually finish the shade, but you just use the shade to block the nexus. Nah, he's not gonna do it. I guess the shade was on cooldown then, but that's another like great thing is if you just use one adept at a time and shade right onto the nexus location, you can't build a nexus.
Your dragon, I hate you.
Like, you're gonna delay that actually for so long with that.
I know. That's why I
don't blame
hate you.
him at all for it. Yeah.
So actually, this is pretty cool. We saw Skillous do this. Yeah, actually on both sides. I feel like we've started to see this more and more, right? This early like 2-gate robo. It's not. When you talk about 3-gate robo, this is all in this timing. You just get a quick prism and you put a couple of depths across the map and it allows you to just dodge around a lot of the SimCity. We're seeing a lot of Protoss players do it right now, and fun at this point. We're seeing it pretty mirrored. Skill is a little bit faster on it, but I mean, 2 ships in the night. Is that an immortal in that prism?
Yeah, I actually really like the new version of the prism drop, which is you just load up a couple sentries, you force field in the probes, and you just go ham on them.
Oh yeah.
It's surprisingly effective. Like, you really do kill workers quite quickly, it feels like, with those sentries.
Shout out to the NA legend Heaven for, I think he was the first person I saw do that. I don't know if he invented it, but he figured it out. He certainly was one of the first players to like stream do it. And yeah, I mean, you just shred everything. One-shotting, you gotta split your attacks properly. But for now, 3 workers go down, but there's an immortal on the other side. That's a lot harder to deal with.
Yeah, there's gonna be an immortal on Skillous' side also. It gets force fielded in, and you know, there is a bit of extra firepower here. So immortal there for Strange. Oh my god, it gets force fielded out. Skillous can't actually attack the immortal. Strange saves his own immortal. That was actually such clutch force fielding.
That it was. Also, again, I've been like 50% talking about this, but did you notice how quickly those shields of the immortal just evaporated with the sentries? Like, I'm not sure, and I'm not sure if this is true or not, but I think it also shreds hardened shield, which is a big deal, right? That's a bunch of extra HP that's just now gone. So yeah, I mean, that immortal almost died so very quickly, but now Skillous, he's on the other side of the map. He wants to get aggressive. He's up 10 army supply. He's got 2 immortals. He's got sentries. He's got the warp prism he can deal with. And most importantly, his warp prism has taken like 5 HP worth of hull damage. It's a little bit more that you can play with. And by the way, Blink 2/3 of the way done here. This is a timing he's going to try to hit for now. Force fields are actually a little bit awkward. They're going to force field the Army of Strange in, but the Army of Strange on this high ground is actually just stronger right now. So yeah, he went for it, but I don't know how much I like it.
Yeah, this is turning into a very awkward engagement for a little bit for both sides, I would say. But it seems like Skillous is going to back up. He's going to warp in some more units. He still has a lot of units. He still has a lot of force field energy available. He's going to be able to bully his way up with the superior army size, and he's even sending the prism ahead to scout. Okay, no, he just picked Wait, were the adepts there?
Yeah.
Oh my god, was he still getting damage done with the adepts?
He shaded the 2 adepts in as part of the fight and got a couple more workers. Super cool. He's gonna get a 4th rope right now. Now both War Prisms are very low. And actually, SKillous, despite having full HP to start, loses his. Dark Blink for the okay, War Prism's dead, doesn't get the Immortal inside of it. And I think this is probably the end of it for SKillous. He lost both. Does he have an Immortal? Okay, so he still has some Immortals. He lost his Immortal, one of them. He lost the Prism, but he does cancel the 3rd base. That is nice. That being said, the Immortal count is continuing to grow for Strange. And Ravi, we saw how much damage Immortals did in the last one. We saw how key that was to the attack.
Yeah, but I think in the last game, remember, it was a big committed attack with like charge lots and Archons and everything behind it. Look at the gateway count for Strange. Like there's no way that Strange can go for some really big committed attack, but he also doesn't have a 3rd base. So the longer this game goes on, the more the economy is going to pay off for SKillous. In the meanwhile, SKillous is sitting there getting up to his, what is that? I think like 6-7 gateways or something. He's flooding out units that's going to have charge and stuff. I think this is a very different situation from the last game.
I think so too, although I'd like to remind you that Strange hit when he was down a base. He was on 2 bases for forever. He kind of backed up, got his 3rd, but didn't really start to see the benefit of it when he went and killed SKillous. And yes, games are very different, obviously, but you know, Strange was in a similarly rough spot in game number 1 and was able to make it happen. For now, though, SKillous, he's got his +1 halfway done, adding in charge. This time, there's a big difference. He's getting the Templar Archives. He will have Archons to respond to the Archons. Those big force field walls that caused all the problems at the start of the hold for SKillous in the previous game, they're going to get popped now. They're going to be managed. And actually, I think is going to make a pretty big difference.
Yeah, I'm really curious, what is Strange's kind of longer term game plan here? So he's getting up his own Templar Archives. He's going to have +2 weapons, charge, and also Archons. So I think that is helpful. The gateway count is eventually going to be followed up there, but you can already see right now, Bamwolf, like the difference in army supply is staggering right now. And part of that's the economy. Part of that's the fact that SKillous got up to his big gateway flood a lot sooner than Strange was able to. And he's even getting up to 10 gateways a lot faster. Whereas Strange, if you look at this exact moment right now, I know 4 gateways are coming. Strange is only just now on 4 gateways. Like, that's all he has right now.
It's really good news for Strange that he has multiple pylons to make sure that his +2 ends, because if that's a single pylon, the only advantage he had in this game was going to go down. As it stands, it's still a really rough spot, but he does have Archons, Shield Battery Overcharge, Immortals here, 3 of them fighting. Yeah, he's going to lose some workers. Actually, that's the bigger deal. He's going to lose a ton of workers here. Zealots are uncountered in the main base. Look, there's some in the natural as well. And yeah, Strange is kind of taking the fight in the 3rd, trying to, and it's actually not even going to work out really all that well. But the economic damage done is the true story. We're going to see the shield, the sentry bat, or excuse me, the guardian shield, the sentry fighting pretty well, minimizing a ton of the damage. So even if it's +2 versus +1, you get +2 armor. That invalidates a lot of it. And SKillous, this game goes a lot better, a lot closer to how he wanted it to go. And we get to move to game 3.
No, absolutely. That was a really well executed game there for SKillous. I think that he got his lead there. And I think, again, the big difference to me between that first game and the second game is the first game, even though SKillous managed to maintain that like base advantage and he was able to tech up into disruptors and everything, he deflected the first attack, there was still something that Strange had, and that was he still had a big army that was in relatively even like a little bit higher army supply, which you can argue is okay if you have disruptors because you're hoping to get or expecting to try and get big disruptor hits. You also have like a 5 or like 8 shield batteries, whatever. Like game number 1, there was that situation where SKillous still seemed like he was maybe in an okay spot, but Strange had a large army and he had the gateway count, he had the prism, he had the tech to back that up. Game number 2, SKillous gets into a similar position, but it's with Strange not having the gateway count, not having the tech, not having like anything besides just I think like a 1 immortal advantage or something. So I think that was a very difficult and different game for Strange to try and come back from.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, right? Game 1, he was attacking, got rebuffed a little bit, had to take a 3rd base. But you're right, he had the production there. This time, he wanted to take a 3rd base, gets it canceled, and then has to go figure something out. So the order of operations changes a little bit, and that does have massive impacts on how the game goes. But luckily, that means we get our third total game 3 of the day. We had one in Asia. This is our second one in Europe. And it's going to be Alcyone for map number 3. So we've seen 2 games of Strange, Ravi. It's not going to be a 2-0, but what does Strange have to do to take the 2-1?
I mean, I would say, I think Strange look like he can make stuff happen with like his aggression and his later game engagements and stuff. I think can go okay in like, say, in that first game, as long as he doesn't fall too far behind the early game, because that is the biggest problem to me right now, is even in the first game, things looked a little bit scary because he fell behind in game number 1. And it was off the back of him committing to that 2-base aggression and just not finding the opportunity to make that work. He eventually managed to make something happen, but it was still kind of a scary spot. So like, I think moving to game number 3, Strange, if you can get to the 3-base economy phase of the game without falling behind, I think I have a lot more confidence in him.
All right, so let's see. Can he get to the 3-base economy? Can he maintain? Can he get himself into the macro game? It's a good question. Well, let's see if Strange has the answer.
And over here on the top right-hand side of the map, our blue Protoss player representing Team Liquid. He is SKillous. Yeah, I mean, that really is to me like the biggest complication in this, because I feel like there's 3 different answers in my head about who I'm favoring right now. One is just by this series, I favor SKillous, just based on how it's going, because of how he's been able to get ahead in the games. Like, even in the game he lost, I still feel like SKillous was not in an unbelievably terrible spot, whereas like SKillous was able to find a really, really big kind of like series of victories, I guess, in that second game, in the early game, that like allowed him to garner a large advantage. The second way that I would say is probably just, I mean, is just, you know, name recognition, whatever, SKillous versus Strange. But the third way I do still look at it is, and this is the reason why at the very beginning of the series I said I think this is going to be less one-sided than people think it is Strange still does win versus SKillous sometimes. Like, the last time they played, which again was an entire year ago, so take it with a grain of salt, Strange won. Strange, again, take it with a grain of salt, it includes games from a long time ago before SKillous kind of ascended Super Saiyan. Strange has a winning record versus SKillous. Like, it's not unheard of for Strange to be able to make some magic happen against SKillous.
Yeah, although, you know, we talked about this, that for the most part, those wins were before SKillous became SKillous, before he became arguably the 3rd best Protoss player in Europe. Maybe the second player offline, you know, because MaxPax doesn't tend to go, but it's up there, right? Punching himself, just punching really up, making these massive improvements week after week, month after month. So, you know, that's, you know, they say that men lie, women lie, but stats don't lie. In this case, I do think that stats are lying just a little bit. I think at this point, that even though SKillous has that losing record, it doesn't really matter. Now, we do have different build orders. I guess actually, no, we did have Stargate in game number 1. But SKillous opening Stargate, Strange getting his natural a little bit faster, not getting a Stargate. SKillous, yeah, he should be able to get something done with this, right? But the question really is how much.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see and find out. It's definitely going to depend a lot on how the actual reaction is, where the stalkers and all that stuff are placed and whatnot. So time will tell. But for now, the Adepts are just going to be annoying. They're going to continue to shade on forward. Man should make it through, and they see how large that army is. They're going to say, no thanks, that's 2 stalkers and 2 sentries. Let's not dive into that. Let's just poke forward, be annoying with our Adepts. Actually getting up to 4 Adepts. Okay, 4 Adepts is the stage where I'm kind of like, okay, if you get 4 Adepts in the main base, even if your opponent has enough firepower to kill those, you could maybe focus fire down some pros, but no, he's not going to commit to that. He's just going to go for the pylon.
I know he's going to try to sync it up with the oracles, I think, right? You get an oracle across the map, 4 Adepts, that's really, really, actually 2 oracles, 4 Adepts is really solid. So one of the big changes that we had, we've talked about the sentry shield damage often. Oh, he's got time on top of the stalkers. I love this. This is actually really awesome. Now, he's going to force a couple warp ins, so he's not going to do more than kill the stalker, but this does make it so hard to mine out of the natural. The key thing, though, so not only do sentries do bonus damage to shields now, they're also no longer light units. So it takes 4 Adepts to one-shot a sentry instead of the 2 that it previously did. So as SKillous tries to run down the ramp here and maybe make something happen, you can maybe try to snipe some sentries. It doesn't really happen right now. But that is something that you got to pay attention to. 4 Adepts for the most part, when you're talking about these early game fights, 4 Adepts are starting to become more of that magic number. So, probes are going to have to get pulled off. It's mining time lost here. We do have to take into consideration, though. Strange, he has not committed a lot of gas to anything but Blink and +1. His timing, as long as he survives these Adepts being annoying, the Oracle's thinking about shading in, his next timing with Blink and +1, more Stalkers than SKillous is going to be able to have because of where the gas is spent, is going to be pretty powerful.
No, you're absolutely right to point that out. These are all very nice pieces of damage. I actually really like how SKillous is playing this out, but even the Adepts, they are still useful to a degree in the actual fight, but when it comes to like a Blink Stalker versus a Blink Stalker battle, you're usually going to want to just have Stalkers over a bunch of Adepts. So these are investments, and the Oracles themselves also, they are great if you can find damage, but they're not exactly as great in a fight. If Strange is gearing up with the Blink Stalkers to put on some pressure, then his army is going to just straight up be a little bit scarier than SKillous, unless SKillous gets that damage done. I think he did do a fair amount of damage, which is like economically pulling the probes, forcing things around, killing off a pylon and stuff, and still just keeping all these units alive, and might be able to kill or delay the third base over here as he is able to find that probe. There's a stasis trap as well, but yeah, I don't hate at all how SKillous was able to find that damage, but you're absolutely right that it was an investment that needed to find something.
He did get something. I don't think he got nearly as much as he would have liked to get. Blinks is done though, so that timing is gone. Strange is gonna, again, the big thing here, Strange is +1 in 5 seconds. The one thing that he has been very good at doing this entire series is now the Adepts are gonna dive in because, hey, there's a distraction at the third, so more workers are gonna go down. He's gonna try to microwave. Most of these Adepts should fall down. Oh, this is super cool. So look at this. So he's gonna set up stasis trap on the high ground. Stalkers are gonna blink and he says, come on, go fight me, right? It's gonna be fine. Blink on top of me. Unfortunately, there's an observer right there, so it's not really gonna get, one Stalker blinks and that's it. It was a cool idea. It's not really gonna work out, but at the end of the day, SKillous' third base is most of the way done. Strange.
He Revelation the Observer. I actually wonder if he'll go back. If he continues a Revelation, he could try and go back in and snipe it.
That'd be fun. And again, we're seeing the setup where Strange is really incentivizing getting his Quick Forge, getting those attack upgrades. But he's kind of given up a lot for it, right? Damage done on the third base, or damage done on the natural, third base getting canceled because, well, when you commit to so much like that, you're going to have less Stalkers, maybe. You're not going to, I mean, it's kind of, again, reach to talk about positioning, but when you commit so much that, you have less of other things, and SKillous is doing a really good job of punishing that.
Yeah, I mean, unlike some of the other games, these players are on mirrored kind of compositions that they're going for of Stalker, like basically lots of Blink Stalkers. Obviously, there's the Oracles in the mix there for SKillous versus Sentries on Strange's side. So there's definitely some differences, even with Charge being added on. But if you just look at the numbers of kind of what they have, SKillous has a third base and he has a relatively similar composition at the moment with just additional tech coming on out. And I really just don't hate SKillous' position at all. I feel like he's doing okay even with the delayed upgrade.
Yeah, and the force fields are nice, right? They do zone the Stalkers out. SKillous obviously can't really take a fight right now, +1 versus +0. In fact, I think Strange has more Stalkers. No, he doesn't, but he's got the Immortal, and that does make a pretty big difference. But as we get into the mid-game here, Ruby, right? Fourth base on the way, much faster for SKillous. SKillous does have this timing. +1's going to be done pretty soon. And more importantly, his charge is going to be done. So what is... I love this when I see Pro Dust players do this. SKillous has the charge advantage. And he knows and Strange knows that is going to be a powerful thing. It's a mortal Stalker. Charge lots are incredible against this. So what do? Do you answer when you're behind? No, you don't. You get glaives. You warp in a bunch of Adepts when glaives are done, and you shred all the Zealots, and you make a pretty cool comeback happen.
Yeah, I mean, if you can take that kind of fight where those Resident Glaive Adepts can just shred through the Zealots super duper quickly, then it can turn into a very interesting fight. I can definitely imagine that. I'm actually so excited to see that because I think I've seen things like this attempted like many years ago. I have not seen it anytime recently, and I'm actually super interested to see how this plays out.
Ooh, nice knife on the Observer. We actually saw it happen yesterday, I think. There was a PvP where, I don't remember who it was because I've cast a lot of StarCraft in the last 2 days, but we saw it happen yesterday, and it worked out really nicely. Just the Adepts, the Zealots got shredded, and all of a sudden, turnabout is fair play. The game swung on its head, and especially here, remember, it's +2 versus +1. This is gonna buy enough time for +2 to complete to allow the adepts to get ready. Now, here's the thing though. SKillous is much faster into his charge. In fact, there's no charge for Strange. He hasn't built like a single zealot. It's all stalkers.
Yeah, that is kind of funny. It's also worth mentioning there hasn't been a single adept built either for Strange.
Well, yeah, you don't build it until glaives are done. It's only good when you have glaives on it. You're trying to hide the tech, right? So
yeah,
SKillous doesn't convert out of it. But hey, here's your defensive response. Although he's warping in stalkers, that doesn't really help. There, the adepts are going to warp in, and with all these zealots in the main base, they're just not going to get nearly as much done as they would like. Especially again, +2 versus +1. The adepts shred the zealots. So SKillous just spent a lot of money on this warp-in, and yeah, he killed a pylon. Strange is pretty heavily supply blocked, but he's just gonna have to recall out. It doesn't really get what you're looking for.
Yeah, I do like the decision to recall over there, because it did seem like it was going to be a big investment of a major loss there dealing with that kind of army, but nice little recovery there. SKillous is going to be up a little bit of supply, does end up losing the Oracle as it throws down a Revelation, but those Immortals are going to be really adding quite a bit of a punch that the supply does not entirely reflect right now. And 4-3 is getting slowed down. I mean, that is, I think, probably my biggest fear right now for Strange, is if he's just going to get out econ, which is kind of the nature of the game when you're going for like mass blink stalker charge lot. You're really looking to just out econ your opponent and out multitask him. Look at this. The amount of damage is going to get done from all 3 different sides right now is actually really crucial.
I mean, here's the problem. I mean, okay, right now he's just lost 24 probes, and that is the problem.
Yeah.
But Strange did not just take this damage because he was out econ. He took this damage because he has been supply blocked for the last minute. Losing that pylon in the main base did a ton of damage, and he didn't properly reinforce. So he was just sitting there at like 149 at a 138 for quite a while, 149 at a 149, or 148 at a 148 for quite a while, and he just never reinforced. So his army, he couldn't reactively warp in to deal with all of this, and all of a sudden, it's 66 workers to 24. Army supplies are pretty equivalent. SKillous has the gold base now. He's going to put stalkers in the natural, and Strange is in this position where he's got all in. He's got 27 workers. His army may be good. He's got better upgrades. He's got 4 immortals. He's got sentries. He's got adepts. He can win the straight up fight. In fact, he's up in army supply. But does SKillous ever let it move out on the map? A big warp in, 10 zealots in the main base kills enough infrastructure that he just, yeah, I mean, that's a lot of zealots. 11 zealots warping in right now. A couple of adepts, even with shield batteries, even with glaives and upgrades, it doesn't keep you safe from this.
Yeah, this is so tough. You're kind of saying like it's nice. It can definitely help out quite a bit, but just the multitask pressure here from SKillous really forcing Strange to an all in position. Now there is still one hope that Strange is kind of banking on right now, which is I just have an army that you can't actually kill in a straight up fight. And frankly, he is kind of correct about that. Like in a straight up fight, if you just took both players' armies, teleported them into the middle of a cage match right now, Strange would actually win. And that is what he's kind of banking on right now. But SKillous is running his probes away. He's getting ready for the base trade. And are there any probes that have escaped for Strange?
Okay, there's not a single one, but he does have 540 minerals on the map. So he does have this ability to go and...
Strange has 0 probes and 40 minerals.
Yeah, he warped in 4 stalkers. Okay, so he's just going to try to take the fight.
He can't make any units. Or sorry, probes.
Yeah, he's just going to try to take the fight. Says, this is fine. I just need to defend my structures. I'm going to do enough damage, which is not true, by the way. There's a gold base. There's a lot of mining here still available for SKillous. But what he has done with his... Okay, not a lot of probes. That's actually a pretty big deal. But what he has done here is he has forced SKillous to back up a little bit, right? So he recalls, he gets SKillous off his back. Losing a couple stalkers isn't great. But remember what you said, with sentries, with immortals, with 4 immortals here, with the adepts, with everything else, pound for pound, the army of SKillous, even as it's down a little bit in supply, is better. It is stronger if you can take the right fight. And what he's doing right now, taking the fight around the 3rd base or the gold base, he's forcing SKillous to take the fight. He's forcing SKillous to attack into him. Otherwise, the economy gets shattered for both sides. So SKillous, he's still in a solid spot, absolutely. But Strange is kind of doing the thing he has to do. That's a rough overcharge. That's not going to get anything done. Now the Immortal's in a great spot here. Forcefield's doing a good job as well. Strange taking half the fight. And we talked about this. The army is just better for Strange right now. SKillous, run across the map with your stalkers, dude. Just put pylons on the map. That's all you got to do. But by opting into this fight, he is giving Strange such a chance in this game.
Okay, I'm gonna give Skills a little bit of credit here, as he is gonna blink in on top of the Immortals. He is gonna try and focus fire some of them down. He takes a while to kill them, and I think he is actually, with the pro pull, going to have enough that he is able to clean things up. So, oh my god, I really was getting afraid there for Skills for a little bit with some of those decisions, but he does take this series 2-1.